Hello guys, Terra Arts Movie here with another super exciting tutorial, and today I'm gonna be teaching you how to render a somewhat realistic using Scanline Renderer inside 3ds Max. Why? Because since my previous video, the Raptor selfie one, there've been a lot of question about how I render the video. So they're using V-Ray. Nope, I'm not using V-Ray, and I also not using another ray, mental ray. No, I am using Scanline Renderer, which is the default very basic renderer inside 3ds Max. So, but some of you guys been asking, how did you do it? How did you render it that realistic? It looks almost like using V-Ray. Well, the key is you have to understand how light and shadow works first, and then I'm not using only 3ds Max software, but also use another software which is After Effects and a third-party plugins from redgiant.com, redgiant softwares called Key Correct. It's very handy. So if you out there, you know, maybe you want to render somewhat realistic but you don't have time. Why? Well, this happens in real life, to be honest. So because well, sometimes you meet a very good client, a very you know very nice client, but there's also a client like this. I found this picture on the internet and I think it's funny. Look at the client briefs here. Ooh, life of P. The client budget. Ooh, life of pussy. So yeah, it's basically but it's true, it happens in real life. Well, this kind of client basically they just don't understand anything. I mean, they just, you know, they just told you to do this and to do that, and with a small budget, because well, basically they just don't understand what's going on. So sometimes, and this is a true story, my story here. I got a client who like this, who wants me to render an animation for a freaking 1 minute animation, and rendering in full HD is already very take a long time, and that client wanted to be finished in 1 day. 1 freaking day. At that time I found this technique. So yeah, if I was using V-Ray back then, oh my god, of course I'm not gonna. Well, maybe you guys saying, well, did you just say no? Well, if you don't have money at that time, well, what you can do? You're gonna take it. But so yeah, I hope this is gonna help you out. So first of all, I'm just gonna be teaching you my technique, but before that I'm just gonna be teaching you the basic of everything. So I want you to understand the lights and shadow first. So if we create a plane here, for example, and then a box in the middle, just like so. If you don't understand 3ds Max, you can watch in my channel at 3ds Max for beginner tutorial. I uploaded a bunch of them years ago. So yeah, so if you render this by click F9 or render production here, boom, there you go. Very retarded looking, like a cartoon, even like a retarded version of cartoon, because there is no light, there's no shadow. So we're gonna we're gonna add some light. So go to lights and then change it from photometric to a standard, and then for example omni is for if for example, if my previous video, the Raptor selfie, I was using the Omni light because it's indoor. So Omni light is actually a light for indoor lighting. You know, if your video, you know, you shot the video in the indoor, you know, you gotta use Omni, and then go to modify and then turn on the shadows, and if you render this, you will see there's a light and there's a shadow. There you go. Omni light is for indoor shadow. Basically I use this a lot for indoors. Now for sunlight I use a target direct. So for example here, from the side you can just create it like so, and then go to directional parameters, and then the hotspot beam, I'm gonna make it big, and if you want to make it soft you can do it too if you want, by the way. And then don't forget to turn on the shadow. And sometimes if in your scene there's sunlight, usually, you know, I got a yellowish color. So yellowish color, if you want to change it to kind of yellowish color, you're gonna go to intensity and color, and then click in the white box here. Basically that's the color. You can change it to a warmer color like so, and I click OK. And then I can, as you can see here, if you render this, boom, a sunlight. A fake sunlight. And yeah, there's the second light. So indoor light using Omni for me in my method, and then a sunlight using Target Direct, and then another light, the third light, is the soft light or ambient light. And what is ambient light? Ambient light is the light that coming from any type of lighting that reflects on every object surrounding the 3D environment, and then reflecting to your subject or object. Oh my god, was that even a word? I don't know. So it creates a very soft shadow. It's also, you can use it also if you shot your video, for example the background video, you shot it in a cloudy day. Basically if you see in a real life in a cloudy day, the shadow is kind of soft. Well, that is the ambient shadow. It's kind of like that. So to do that, to create an ambient shadow, I use skylight. So put it anywhere, and then cast shadow for me. If you want to make it smooth, maybe you're gonna put a higher number, like me here 20. But if your computer can't render that high, maybe 6 or even 4, maybe 6. And maybe we're gonna turn this opacity for this light just a little bit, so it's not so bright. And then if you render this, as you can see, oh my god, wrong, this one. So you can see here there's a soft shadow, and because it's in low quality, it's kinda jittery. And maybe I'm just gonna make it, just for example here, by the way, just gonna make it 20 maybe. So it's gonna be smooth because it's just gonna be showing you. There you go. But maybe some of you, if you have a slow computer, maybe you won't able to render the with a 20 rays per sample. But if you got a very good computer, maybe you can do it. So as you can see here, this soft shadow here is the ambient shadow. I usually use it a lot, even though there's a harsh light in my scene, I still use this ambient shadow, and then I export it to After Effects, and I make it the opacity, just turn it down if you don't want it to what's it called in English. My English sucks, by the way. Anyway, so yeah, if you want to make it, if you don't want to make it that invisible, yeah, whatever words that is. And then yeah, this is for just a little bit understanding about lights and shadow, and what kind of lights I use when rendering with Scanline Renderer. So as you can see here, it's quite realistic actually. And by the way, my technique here, sadly, you can only use it for something that not reflective, so like a skin, like dinosaurs for example. Obviously you can still use it, but if you want to render something like glass or water, maybe it won't work. Yeah, but I got a friend who can render a car, a freaking car. Of course it's gonna be reflective with using only Scanline Renderer, and it's so realistic. Maybe I will ask him tomorrow if he want to share it to me, then I will share it to you guys. But if he won't, then well, sad news. It's a yep. So yeah, basically my method here not for reflective stuff. So now just move along to my dinosaurs, for example, and how I render it to After Effects, how I export it to After Effects. So as you can see here, I get my dinosaurs. As you can see here, the background video is cloudy day. I shot in a cloudy day, so obviously there is no harsh light, no harsh shadow. As you can see here on the ground here, even though the light is coming from this side up here, I think, as I remember, but there is no harsh shadow here, no harsh light, so it's cloudy day. And yeah, so as you can see here in my scene, all I did is putting a skylight, because we're just gonna be needing the ambient shadow and ambient light. And there you go. If I render this, for that I'm gonna change it first, single. If you render this, boom, as you can see here, only the shadow. Now if you ask me how I render this separately, so for example, to export to After Effects, I render these separately. So I render the spinal source alone and then the shadow alone. So to do that, it's actually pretty easy. You just select your spinal. Let's say you want to render your spinal source first. So you're gonna select all of these spinal source, right click, or your subject or whatever, right click, and then object properties, and then checklist the visible to camera. Make sure it's visible to camera. Now if you don't want to render the plane here, which is contain the shadow, just right click, object properties, and then make it not visible to camera. As simple as that. Now as you can see here, if we render it, click F9, boom, there you go. It's gonna render only the spinal source, boom. And to render it out, I use just click active time segments, basically all of your animation here, and then for me HD, of course, custom HD video, and then choose HD for me, by the way. And then save file, you're gonna save it as PNG. So for me it's gonna be PNG, so it's gonna have some transparent background like this, so PNG. And then make sure it's PNG, then click save, yes, and then all you're gonna do is click render and you're done. Very simple. And then you can name it a spinal source, by the way, name it spinal source, or for me, by the way, and then click render. And then next you want to render the shadow. All you're gonna do is do the opposite. Just select the spinal source, right click, object properties, make it not visible to camera, okay, and then right click on the plane, object properties, visible to camera, okay. So if you render it right now, let me change it to single first because I'm single. Render it now. As you see here, it only rendered the shadow. So also you want to render it with the PNG and all that stuff again. After you're done, all you're gonna do is close this, don't save, and then you're gonna go open up the After Effects. So this is my method, guys. So this is how I do it. And yeah, so by the way, for After Effects I also use the third-party plugin from Red Giant. As I said before, redgiant.com. Key correct is gonna help you out. It's gonna make it even faster. So for example, I forgot to tell you that the video at the beginning that you saw, back in the day, I tried to use a V-Ray. I tried to render the first scene, which is the T-Rex try to drink the water. It took me 5 hours with my old PC. 5 hours to render all of that with V-Ray, to make it realistic, because I want to make it realistic. So I try to render with V-Ray, taking so long. But when I use Scanline Renderer, I render all of the clips, all of them, only 15 minutes. Believe it or not, it is true. So yeah, my pet dino here, and yeah, Scanline Renderer is very good if you know how to use it. Now as you can see here, is quite bland. Actually, I'm kind of surprised with the result too. So well, this is the background video, and then the shadow, as you can see here. Now for the shadow, I add some brightness and contrast, because sometimes when you render it, it's sometimes it's too bright. If you want to make it darker, just put effect, color correction, brightness and contrast, and then put the brightness down and the contrast up, boom, a darker shadow. If you want to make it even more darker, just click on the layer and Control D, boom, even more darker shadow. So there you go. And here's the spinal source, and this is after, by the way, after I as you can see here, added some stuff, and this before, boom. Basically my technique is here. So basically it's very simple. After you understand the lighting and shadow in 3ds Max, just like so. It's very easy, and all you're gonna do in After Effects is what I already told you several times in my green screen tutorial, which is red giant key correct over and over again. And as you can see here, color matcher, you know, you go to effect, key correct, and remember guys, because surprisingly when I already tells you in the video that guys, it is a third-party plugins, it doesn't come with After Effects. You still asking me in the comment, Tara, I don't have the key correct. It's a third-party plugins, you have to buy it separately. It didn't come with After Effects, you have to buy it separately and then install it. So key correct, remember that's from Red Giant Software. It's a third-party plugin, so it's not the After Effects plugin. It's a it's After Effects plugin, but it's third-party. So yeah, I just have to, you know, explain that. So key correct, and then color matcher. But for color matcher, basically just, you know, you match the color from your background color. But if you don't want to use color matcher, you can actually use a very simple, lots of color correcting tool here. For example, well, you know what, I'm just gonna be explaining how I did this, how I did it first, and then I'm just gonna try to use just a regular After Effects, you know, plugin, so you can do it too without this Red Giant key correct plugins. So for example, here I use color matcher from of course effects, key correct, color matcher. All you're gonna do is in color matcher, inside color matcher, target layer, which is your background layer here, change it to your background layer, and then all you're gonna do is play with the strength. For me it's 100%, it's okay for me. And then the next effect I add is the fast blur, because I shot it with my Canon 5D Mark II, which is, of course, it's a DSLR. It's not that sharp, and the result from 3ds Max is so sharp because it's basically, well, it's a 3D. So as you can see here, I just try to match the blur with my as you can see here, it's too sharp, so it's kind of blur it up a little bit so it matched with this scene even more. And then hue and saturation, basically I just make it desaturated a little bit, because as you can see here, it's kind of desaturated, so I desaturate a little bit. And edge blur is, as it's saying, it's edge blur, so it's blurring the edges. So it's before and after. So there, can you see it? Before, after. There you go. And then brightness and contrast, of course, to blend it even more. You just basically just play with it. Brightness for me, contrast, and then the light wrap. The light wrap is as you can see here. Can you see it? Light wrap is basically to blend the edges with the foreground, with the background a little bit more. So this is before, after. Well, if you already watched my green screen tutorial, you will understand it. So if you haven't, just watch my green screen tutorial. There's a bunch of green screen tutorial I already did, and yep, all of them using this key correct. And this is just another light wrap for the sky area, so it's make it more glowy in the sky area. And there you go. I guess so. That's it. That's how I did it. That's how I so basically what you learn, what the new things you learn from this tutorial is only the lights and shadow in 3ds Max, how I use it and how I render it to After Effects. And on this After Effects stuffs here is just basically what I already told you in my previous tutorial, the green screen tutorial. So it's actually pretty easy to do. And there you go, somewhat realistic, right? And very fast. Right guys, so Tara Artist movie here. I hope you find this tutorial useful, and see you in the next cool videos and tutorials. Ciao.